Now we have the fourth very important question, which is what is dependency injection and why do we use it? So dependency injection is short form which is called DI, and DI providing dependencies from outside a class. What does it mean by dependency? Let's elaborate these words. Anything a class needs to do its job. Let's suppose if order service needs email service to send emails, then email service is a dependency of order service. So the problem without dependency injection, let's suppose if we have public order service and if we create email services, new email services inside order services, so order services is now tightly coupled for to email service. You cannot test order service without a real email service. If email service changes, order service breaks. The solution with dependency injection, simply we will create, you can see in the code, like we have email services and we simply inject this in our order services. So order services does not care how email is sent. You can pass fake email service and test. You can swap email service for SMS service without touching order service. So dependency injection is like power socket. Your laptop does not care if the electricity comes from solar, wind or coal. It just needs power through the socket. So dependency injection is the socket. Now register in the program.cs using builder.service. There are 3 lifetimes. This is common interview follow-up question like how many lifetimes per service. So basically we have 3, which is transient, scoped and singleton. So transient means new instance every time, and when we have to use transient when it is lightweight stateless services. The second type is scope. Scope means one instance per HTTP request. When we have to use scope, when we have database context, unit up. And the last one, third, which is singleton, one instance per entire app lifetime. It's using for caching and configuration. So if they ask about lifetimes in your interview, transient, scoped, singleton, remember these 3 words. So dependency injection remove tight coupling between classes, making your code easier to test, maintain and extend. Now we have a question which is what is entity framework core. So entity framework core, basically it is a ORM. What does it mean by ORM? It stands for object relational mapper. We have 3 words in ORM, which is object, relationals and mapper. Object means your C# classes and objects. Relational means your relational database, which is SQL Server, PostgreSQL, MySQL, whatever. And mapper, it maps one to the other automatically. So without ORM, you write SQL like select static from users where ID is 1. So without entity framework, you write C# like context.user.find1. So entity framework core write the SQL for you behind the scene. What does it mean by C# classes maps to database tables? Like we have DB context, the main class and entity core framework. It represents your database connection and contains all your tables as properties. Now we have another word which is dbset. Dbset represent one table, like we have dbset user. So this represent user table. An entity is a C# class that maps to a table. Each property maps to a column. Entity framework core handle migration, auto updates database schema. Migration, what does it mean by migration? If user interviewer asks what does it mean by migration? Migration is a file that describe changes to your database structure. When you add a new property to your C# class, you run a migration. An entity framework core update that actually database table. Think of migration like version control up for your database. Just like git tracks changes in your code, migration tracks changes in your database structure. So for migration, we are using 2 commands, which is .NET in EAP migration, add and then you table, like we have to add user table, and then we will run .NET EAP database update. So entity framework core lets you work with database using C# object instead of SQL, saving time and reducing error. Now the 6th question which we have, how does garbage collection is working? So simply it's called GC, garbage collection. Garbage collection automatically pre-memories, no manually delete. What does it mean? Why memory management matters? So every object you create in C# take up RAM. If you never free that memory, eventually your application runs out of RAM and crash. In C and C++ developer had to manually free memory. This caused bugs called memory leaks, very hard to find and fix. So C# solved this with garbage collection, GC. You create object freely. GC tracks which ones are no longer reachable and delete them automatically. GC works in 3 generations. Generation 1, generation 0, generation 1, generation 2. Why generation? Let's explain the logic. Most object and program are short-lived, created, used, throw away quickly. A few objects live for a long time, like a database connection or configuration. Generation let GC, garbage collection, focus its work efficient. So generation 0, brand new object, GC checks this most frequently. Most objects die here. Generation 0 is like your desk. Things come and go quickly. You clean it multiple times a day. Generation 1, object that survived generation 0 collection middle ground. Generation 1 is like your room. You treat it weekly, not daily. Generation 2, long-lived object that survived multiple collection. GC rarely touch this. Generation 2 is like your storage room. You clean it maybe once a year. So you can call gc.collect, but really should. When you should not call it manually. GC knows better than you when to run. Forcing it interpret your application and cause performance problem and its code smell. If you feel you need gc.collect, your memory architecture is a problem. So GC, garbage collection, is .NET's automatic memory cleaner. It's free you from manually memory management and prevent memory leaks. Now the 7th question is, what is middleware in ASP.NET Core? So middleware, code that runs on every HTTP request. And a request passes through a pipeline of middleware. What does it mean by pipeline? Requests do not go straight to your controller. They pass through a chain of middleware components first, one by one in order. Think of middleware like airport security. Before you reach your gate, your controller, you go through check-in, passport controller, security scanning. Each one is the middleware. Each middleware can process, modify, or stop the request. 3 things middleware can do. Do something and pass to next. Example, logging middleware logs the request and then pass it on. Modify the request or response. Example, compression middleware compress the response. Short circuit the pipeline. Let's suppose authentication middleware stop the request completely if the user is not logged in. So in middleware, order is matter. This is the key interview point. If you put use authorization before use authentication, your app breaks. Middleware runs in the exact order you register. Always authentication first, then authorization. The last point which we have, configure and program.cs using app.use and app.run. What does that mean by app.use and app.run? When we use app.use, adds middleware that passes the request to the next middleware. And app.run, terminal middleware. It handles the request and does not pass it forward. Nothing runs after app.run. App.map bridge the pipeline for specific path. So middleware is the pipeline. Every request passes through for logging, authentication, error handling, and much more before reaching your controller. It depends on you how many middleware you have footed. We have 2 types. If we explore more, we have 2 types of middleware, which is custom middleware, which is built-in middleware. Custom middleware means you can create from your side whatever you want, and built-in middleware which is already created and we can use it, like authorization, authentication, logging. These are built-in middleware, and custom middleware you can create whatever you want. Now we have a question that what is the difference between IEnumerable, ICollection, and IList? So IEnumerable is the most basic. It only runs your loop. It only lets your loop. IEnumerable is the most basic. It only lets you loop. So if you can see on the screen, we have IEnumerable, ICollection, which is extend IEnumerable, and IList extend ICollections. What does it mean? Each level add more capability. Like IEnumerable only gives you the ability to loop with for each, nothing else, no count, no add, no index. IEnumerable is like a conveyor belt. Item comes to you one by one. You can you can look, but you cannot add or more or remove. So enumerable is like a read-only conveyor belt. Items come to you one by one. You can look, but you cannot add or remove. iCollection adds count, add, remove, contains on the top of loop. iCollection is like a bag. You can count what's in it, put things in, take things out. So this is iCollection. But with enumerable you cannot do anything add, you cannot do anything remove, only just you can look at. And the last one we have ilist, add indexes access like list 0, list 1, list 2, list 3 and so on. On the top of everything iCollection has a list. A list is like numbered shelf. You can go directly to shelf number 3 without checking 1 and 2 first. So use enumerable when returning data from a method. Why enumerable is preferred for returning types? Most caller only needs to loop through data. By returning enumerable, you give the caller flexibility. They can put it in a list, an array, anything. It also enables deferred execution with link queue. The query does not run until you actually loop. Deferred execution. Bonus point to impress interviewer. When you return enumerable with link queue, the database query is not run yet. It only runs when you for each over it or call dot to list. This is called deferred execution. So enumerable for read only looping, iCollection for modifying, iListing for indexing access. Each adds more power than the previous. Now we have a question number 9, which is what are solid principle? SOLI. So S stand for single responsibility principle. What does it mean by single responsibility principle? One class, one reason to change. Let's suppose if your user service class is handling logging. Let's suppose if your user service class is handling login, sending emails and generating report. That's 3 responsibilities. So split them into login service, email service and report service. Why it matters? When one thing change, only one class need to be changed. Easier to maintain, easier to test. The second word O stands for open closed principle. What does it mean? It means open for extension, close for modification. If you have discount service and you need to add a new discount type, you should not edit the existing class. Instead, create a new class that extends it. This prevents breaking existing working code. So how we can achieve it? Use interface and inheritance. So new behavior will be equal to new class, not edited old class. This is the open closed principle. The third word, which is L, it stands for Liskov substitution principle. It means subclass must be replaceable for its parent without breaking anything. If you have a bird class with apply method and you create penguin class that extend bird, penguin cannot fly. This breaks the Liskov. Your penguin class should not inherit from a bird that's promised fly. So in simple way to explain, if class B extend class A, anywhere you use A, you should be able to use B without any problem. So it's called Liskov substitution principle. Like if you use A, should be able to use B without any problem anyway. Fourth word, which is I, it stands for interface segregation principle. It means don't force classes to implement methods they don't need. If you have one grant iAnimal interface with fly, swim, run and walk, a dog class is forced to implement fly. Even though dog cannot fly, split into iFlyable, iSwimmable and iRunnable classes. Only implement what they actually can do. So it's called interface segregation principle. Now the last word, which is 5, which is dependency, which is D, dependency inversion principle. It means depend on abstraction interfaces, not concrete implementation classes. Your order server should depend on iEmail service, not on email service direct. This way you can swap to SMS service or push notification service without touching order service. So this is directly connected to dependency injection. Dependency injection is the tool. So this is directly connected to dependency injection. DI is the tool, dependency injection, and dependency inversion is the principle behind it. So solid is 5 principle that together makes your code clean, flexible and easy to change without breaking things. Now we have the last question, which is what is the difference between value type and reference type? So Value type stores the actual data directly. We have stock with heap. Stock is vast, small, organized memory. Works like a stock of plates, last in, first out, automatically cleaned up. Heap is a large, flexible memory. Object live here until GC clean them up. Garbage collection make it clean up. So value types live on the stock and reference type live on the heap. When you write int x equal to 5, the number 5 is stored directly in the variable x on the stock. Past x is automatic cleanup. When you write user equal to new user, the actual user object is stored on the heap. The variable user only store the address reference of where that object lives in the heap. When you copy a value type, you get it independent copy. So you can see on the screen we have int a equal to 10, and now we have int b equal to a. B gets its own copy of a, which is 10, and b equal to 20. So a is still 10. Changing b did not affect a because we assigned a new value to b. Now you can see on the screen we have reference type behavior. We have user 1, which is new user. His name is Ali. Now we have user 2. We assign the user 1 to user 2. So user 2 is pointing to the same object, which is user 1. So user 2 dot name, which is equal to Ahmad. Now we make it update. So user 1 dot name is now also Ahmad. They share the same object. If you make it changes on one place, it will be affect the other one also. So this one of the most common resource of bugs for beginner. They copy an object, change the copy, and wonder why the original also changed. String is special. It's a reference type but behaves like a value type. String immutability. What does it mean? String cannot be changed after creation. Every time you modify a string, a new string object is created in memory. This is why string operation in a loop can be slow. Use string builder instead when you building string in a loop. So value types copy data, reference types copy the address. Understanding this prevents some of the most common bugs in C#.